I'm 74 years old, and if I'm being completely honest with you, most of the financial advice floating around right now makes me want to turn off the television and walk away. People ask me why I don't talk like the young guys on this platform, the ones grinning in front of rented cars, telling you that cutting out a $4 coffee is going to make you a millionaire by 30. I don't talk like them because I've lived through the 1987 crash. I watched people lose their entire life savings in a single afternoon in 2008. I've seen inflation cycles come and go since the late 70s, and if there's one thing 74 years on this earth teaches you, it's that basic frugality won't save you if your fundamental strategy is broken. They won't tell you this because they're selling you a fantasy. They want you focused on $4 coffees, so you don't notice that your real problem is a complete lack of leverage. Listen, the single best financial decision I ever made wasn't a stock pick. It wasn't buying real estate in a booming market. It happened 50 years ago when I had nothing, absolutely nothing. I was sitting across from a young woman at a greasy diner table, terrified out of my mind that she'd realize I was completely broke. I looked her in the eye and said, "If you stay with me, it's going to be hard. No fancy dinners, no vacations, just work." I waited for her to grab her coat and leave. She didn't. She rolled up her sleeves and stood behind the counter of my first tiny shop on weekends, working for a sandwich and a thank you. Decades later, when the business finally paid off, I didn't keep her around out of obligation. I married her. It was the highest yielding investment I ever made with money I didn't even have yet. The numbers back this up, whether people want to admit it or not. Look at the data today. People who have a aligned, grounded partner in their corner build almost twice as much long-term wealth as those operating alone. Not because of a joint bank account, because of focus. The wrong partner will bleed your time, your focus, and your sanity dry before a court ever touches your bank account. The right partner becomes your quiet anchor when the market is burning down around you. Most people get this completely backward. They spend 30 years optimizing their stock portfolio while letting their personal life bleed them dry. So let's stop talking about what you shouldn't buy. If you've done the absolute bare minimum, if you have a basic emergency fund sitting in a high-yield account and your foundational investments are running quietly in the background, we need to talk about where your capital actually needs to go if you want to survive the next 10 years. Because the world in 2026 isn't the world I started in. The rules have shifted. And if you keep playing by the old playbook, you're going to get left behind. Let's start with time, because at my age, time isn't a metaphor. It's the only real currency left on the table. Calculate your actual hourly rate right now. Don't give me your salary figure. Take your total annual income and divide it by every single hour you spend working, thinking about work, commuting, and stressing about your business. If your actual hourly rate comes out to $50 and you're spending your Saturday afternoon mowing your own lawn or scrubbing your own floors to save $20 an hour, you aren't being thrifty, son. You're failing basic arithmetic. It took me until I was 40 to understand this. I gave away 10 full years of my life to routine tasks and cleaning rags, thinking I was saving money. I wasn't saving money. I was bankrupting my future self by refusing to delegate low-value tasks so I could focus on high-yield leverage. The same rule applies to your physical workspace. Before I ever recorded a single word for this channel, I went out and bought the best ergonomic chair I could find. It hurt my bank account at the time. My wife looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But sitting in a cheap chair for 12 hours a day while trying to build an enterprise is pure arrogance. When your back goes out, your focus dies with it. And when your focus dies, your income follows it straight down the drain. You're going to spend tens of thousands of hours sitting at a desk. Invest in the frame that carries you. Now, listen carefully to this next part, because almost nobody under 50 thinks about it until it's too late. When your net worth starts growing, your biggest threat isn't a market correction, it's exposure. A single mistake, a minor accident on your property, or one opportunistic legal claim can wipe out 20 years of quiet compounding in less than a month. Wealthy men don't get destroyed by big, dramatic market crashes. They get destroyed by small, unhedged liabilities they were too arrogant to cover. Go get proper umbrella liability coverage. It costs a few $100s a year, and it acts as an iron vault around your assets. And while you're protecting your capital, protect the machine that generates it. I see young guys in their 30s bragging about sleeping 4 hours a night and living on energy drinks. I used to think like that too. Back in the 90s, during a brutal push to scale my business, I treated sleep like a character flaw. I pushed through 3 straight days on pure adrenaline. On the 4th morning, my eyes went dark. I lost my footing at the top of a flight of stairs, and I woke up in an emergency room with a fractured spine. I couldn't work for 2 months. My business ground to a halt. The money I saved by hustling through the night was swallowed 10 times over by hospital bills and lost deals. An exhausted mind making financial decisions is no different than a drunk man driving a truck. You aren't being tough, you're being reckless. When you have your health and your downside protected, that's when you earn the right to take calculated risks. I'm not talking about buying lottery tickets or chasing whatever speculative trend is blowing up on social media. This week, I'm talking about asymmetric upside. Early in my career, everyone told me I was out of my mind for putting a small slice of capital into a young tech supplier whose product I'd tested myself. People laughed. They said the sector was volatile, that the big players would crush them. I didn't care about the noise. I knew the product worked, and I knew the management was hungry. I put a small amount in, wrote it off in my mind, and let it sit for 15 years. That single asymmetric play grew to outweigh half my traditional portfolio. Notice what I didn't do. I didn't bet the farm. I didn't take out leverage to chase it. I took a small, well-researched position in something I understood and had the patience to let time do the heavy lifting. That's the difference between investing and gambling. You can do the same thing with real, tangible assets. When I was younger, I used to buy and flip old classic cars just to keep cash moving through my shop. I remember selling a pristine vintage sports car for a quick $800 profit because I needed to clear space on the floor. If I had parked that car in a dry garage and left it alone, it would be worth more than my first commercial building today. Real assets, whether it's vintage machinery, fine timepieces, or physical collectibles, don't just hold value against a devaluing currency. Unlike numbers flickering on a broker's app screen, they are real, tangible pieces of history that you can actually hold, use, and enjoy while they sit on your balance sheet. Biographies are another asset most people overlook. For $20, you can buy 30 years of a master's failures, bankruptcies, and hard-earned triumphs. When I dropped out of school, I was convinced I was stupid. I had trouble reading, couldn't sit still in a classroom, and the traditional academic system discarded me. Then a friend handed me a worn-out copy of a pioneer industrialist's autobiography. That book changed everything. It taught me that business isn't about memorizing formulas. It's about understanding human psychology, managing cash flow, and outlasting your competition. 2 hours of reading a real mentor's story will save you 5 years of bleeding money in the real world. That brings me to mentorship. Nobody in the public school system taught me a single useful sentence about money. Everything I learned about capital, debt, and negotiation came from sitting quietly in the corner of a local business club, listening to older men who had actually built something. The data today is crystal clear. Professionals who secure real mentorship earn vastly more over their careers than those who try to hero their way through the dark. The tragic comedy of 2026 is that you have access to the greatest minds in history right at your fingertips completely for free. Yet most people use these devices to numb their brains with 15-second clips. The information is there. The mentors are there. You just have to stop scrolling long enough to actually listen and execute. And once you find that guidance, go master a high-value, defensible skill. In my era, it was fine woodworking and mechanical repair. The moment I realized I could take raw materials, shape them with my own hands, and sell the finished piece for 5 times what it cost me, I knew I would never starve. I was no longer dependent on a boss's clock. Today, the tools are different, but the principle is identical. Whether it's advanced video editing, algorithmic automation, specialized copywriting, or direct sales, if you can solve a high-ticket problem for an established business, they will gladly pay you a piece of the revenue every single month. When you have a skill that generates cash flow, double down on your tools. When my son started his visual production company, he was working off a laggy 5-year-old laptop. He was spending half his day just waiting for files to render. I looked at him and said, "Son, a high-performance machine isn't an expense. It's the engine of your factory." He upgraded his setup, cut his render times by 70%, took on 3 additional clients that same month, and paid off the gear in 30 days. Never starve your cash cow, and track every single penny. I've watched dozens of talented tradesmen and business owners go bankrupt over 50 years. Not because they didn't work hard. Not because they didn't have customers. They went broke because they didn't know their real numbers. They looked at top-line revenue and thought they were rich, ignoring the quiet bleeding of overhead, software subscriptions, and uncollected invoices. If you don't know your exact net margin at the end of every week, you aren't running a business. You're running a charity that's about to go under. When you've built your foundation, protected your downside, and mastered your numbers, take a slice of what you've earned and spend it on experiences that stick to your ribs. I couldn't tell you the model number of the first brand new car I bought when I finally made some real money. The high wore off in 3 weeks. But I can tell you every detail of the night I rented out a quiet restaurant to celebrate my wife's milestone birthday, or the afternoon I spent flying a small propeller plane over the valley. The objects you buy will end up in a garage sale or a landfill. The memories and the character you build stay with you until the lights go out. I'm Ryan. Now go build a life that's actually worth funding.